does not. Maybe we should try that one.
Yeah, turn this one off. Let's try this. Is there a battery in this one? No, must not be a battery in there. Let's try this one.
Where do you take this?
Take that old one here.
She just put a new one in.
Oh, did you just put a new one in?
Back. Do we have any?
Oh, gotcha. I thought you put a new
Do we
one.
have any? We can use these, I guess, if we need to.
The light was on, so I'm guessing. Okay. I don't know. Now it's working. It wasn't before.
Yeah, it wasn't before.
He licked the battery.
That's a commissioner trick. It's an old commissioner trick. Okay, we're streaming now.
And it is 9 o'clock.
Do you want to watch it twice? We can watch ourselves, then we can watch ourselves. We can watch ourselves twice. Yeah. This one's very, yeah, this one's only a couple seconds. I think it depends on the traffic. You're on.
Don's not here for our audio check, is he?
Nope.
It being 9 o'clock at this time, we would like to, prior to calling the meeting to order, just a reminder to all those that are in attendance to please silence your cell phone, including myself, or turn it off. If you do get a phone call during the meeting that you need to take, please step out in the hall and talk out there so you don't disrupt the meeting.
Make a
Also,
motion.
just for your personal knowledge, this meeting is being streamed, so you are on computer, you are on TV, in other words, so it will show up here. I think where it's rebooting or reloading
No,
right now.
we're streaming now, so I just didn't put it on.
Okay, so it's up and running.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
There's been a motion by Brenda, Commissioner
Second.
Hatton. Is there a second to
Second.
approve the agenda? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I would also, I should have, when I made my announcements, that Commissioner Troy was not with us today. He's had a vacation planned well before he was even elected to his position, and so he's out on the Gulf of somewhere, out on the high seas, enjoying some warm weather right now. So that's why he's not present today. Number two, action
Move
to approve the minutes.
Minutes
of
as mailed.
the
Well, second.
motion by Hatton, seconded by Gable. Any additions, any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Approve, same sign, motion carries. Let's go right to the reports, extension. Jody, I see Jody's here. Good morning, Jody. You broke away from the farm show for a little while.
Then they just called me. So
Good morning,
I didn't get to
Jody.
tell someone I was gone. So, yes, Farm Show is up and running. We have many, many volunteers, not only from our 4-H families and parents and grandparents, but from a lot of friends of 4-H in Cottington County here. We also have archery that's begun on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and that's being held at the City Auditorium with the help of Skip Meisenheimer, Scott Struess, and Matt Thill. We have probably close to 75 kids enrolled in that program right now. A little less than last year, but
They do a
I
good
think
job.
it's still being added to too. So,
They do a really good job. It's
so,
really good. Yeah.
so we have fun with that. And then we're still trying to fill our Strengthening Families class that will be held at the Watertown Middle School, and that'll be held on Monday nights, starting February 27th. Our sign-up deadline is next week. I've even had some questions from some other people at archery and things like that about the class. So
What,
we'll see if
what class was that, Jody?
Strengthening Families program. It's for youth 10 to 14 and their parents.
Okay,
And we meet at 5:30, and we have a free meal for them. We also have free childcare for those that have young kids. And the first hour we meet from 6:30, it'll be 6 to 7, with the youth and the parents separated. And then for the last hour, we combine them and we do some family events. So that's the last hour of that. So, and that'll be held on Monday nights at the middle school if we fill it if we get enough families to attend to that. I'm also working with the Women in Science and Men in Science Committee. We'll be holding that in March 7th and 8th, and that will be held at LATI. And we have about 150 to 200 8th grade young men and women that attend that class, and that will be held at LATI during their spring break. And that gives them access to see what LATI is about, but also see about these science careers that we have. So 8th grade's a good year to catch them because they're making decisions for their 9th grade and high school careers. So, and they've been signing up through their schools. This doesn't just include Watertown. We have surrounding schools, Millbank, Webster, Sisseton, Clark, all the surrounding schools that can attend to this too. It's a women in science and men in science. So we have 6 different speakers in science careers that will be there. And we actually have Leslie Judding is going to be doing the keynote for the girls this year. So we're excited for that. And I also have, Promotion Expansion Committee. I have Jill and JC Orthouse, but I'm still looking for one more adult that's non-4-H. I still have to find that one person. So I'm hoping during Farm Show I find that person.
so we'll set on that for,
Yeah, I didn't have it on the agenda, and I haven't sent that in, so I thought I'll get that. And then here is, come join us at the Farm Show.
oh, thank you.
I don't know
Thank
if
you,
Troy will
Jody.
be back or not, so.
Thanks, Jody. I don't think Troy will be back.
Okay. Today it is roast beef. On another note, Becky gave me this that kind of gave me the years of rentals that we've had at the Ag Building. In 1991, we had 24 rentals. We're bringing in $3,800. And 2001, we doubled that to 56 with $10,410 of rents received. And now in 2016, we have 91 paid rentals. That's paid rentals, not ones that are 4-H or youth-related that I use it for. And we've received almost $23,280 in rents received.
What was that number again, Jody?
For which one?
16.
To 23,280.
No, the number of rentals. So.
91. That's
91.
paid.
Yeah.
Paid rentals.
Good.
So,
Just a little oddity, I was listening to What's Up This Morning with the farm show. They used to have it in the city auditorium in the 60s
yep,
and bring in livestock.
down in the basement where we shoot archery. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we have some pictures of that somewhere in the extension office.
What a better facility we have now.
I had the opportunity. I was out there Friday for the crop show, and sometimes we need to remind the people, although they just take it for granted. All of a sudden, you remind them that now they can call from anywhere in that facility out there on their cell phone because of the money that we spent to upgrade the telecommunications. If you're out there, be sure and go out into the livestock area. The new lighting is excellent, very, very good. And along with the new lighting out in the barn, we about doubled the amount of outlets that we have out there. So
No more blown breakers.
no, yeah, but they still did. They were still able, I think, during that calf show earlier this year, they were still, all those young boys and gals in there with their dryers and their radios and fans and all this, they were still able to trip a breaker, though. But, I mean, you'd have to really load that baby up, but they appreciate that. I mean, it's a nice facility now. Nice. So, appreciate all you're doing out there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good
Thanks,
week.
Jody.
Veteran Service. Good morning.
Good morning, Al.
Yeah.
And it's snowing outside. Okay,
That's April Fool's.
for the month of January, we had 97 appointments / walk-ins. We had 2 trips to Sioux Falls with 4 riders. The United Methodist Church group across the street here brought over some backpacks that were filled with a lot of really interesting stuff to give away to veterans, as they walk in, and they're going to be bringing in another 25 this month. So I just want to give a shout out to that church group for doing that for veterans.
Good.
It's pretty special. And Thrivent Financial did the same thing here a couple months ago, and I think we had well over 100 backpacks from them. So we really appreciate all the kindness that goes around for veterans.
Good. Any questions? Thank you.
That's good, thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Weeds. Steve. His name isn't Weeds. His name is actually Steve, so. Yeah.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Steve.
Not too much to report on and stuff like that. Of course, it's wintertime, so weeds are kind of staying stable. One thing is, worked the farm show in Sioux Falls on the 27th. Had a decent crowd. We handed out a lot of promotional items that day. We decided we were going to make sure everybody knew what noxious weeds were in the state. Also this week, farm show, there is a weed booth set up with the South Dakota Weed and Pest Boards. Various counties will be represented there throughout the week. I will work the booth on Saturday, so more than welcome to come to that. Also, coming up the event, again, is the conference, the 21st through the 24th in Huron. And then also my Weed and Pest Board meeting and join with the Townsend Township on March 1st at 6:30, soup supper and stuff. So it's pretty well what I have for this month.
Any questions for Steve?
That weed thing, weed on March 1st, is that the extension center?
That's at the extension center in the kitchen. Yeah, correct.
What time is that?
6:30.
6:30? Yep.
6:30?
Yep.
And you have your person to go with you for the convention, so
So
that would
far,
qualify?
yes, he's able to go, unless the weather permits him that for snow, that he needs to move snow, so,
Okay.
right.
Okay, good, thank you.
Bet.
Have a good
Steve.
week. You're helping
I'll
out
be
at the extension center right now.
Yes,
and
I am. Yep.
You're busy week for you out there.
Busy week.
Yep. Thank you.
I'll be back up.
Sarah, welfare. Good morning, Sarah. And I think while
Morning,
you're
Sarah.
up here, if you look at the agenda, number 6 and number 7 are related to Sarah. So we'll,
Also,
We have a number of travel requests. I mean, you can
Yeah, we'll
talk
do-
about yours.
yeah, we'll do all those at one time later on.
I attached on the second page for you kind of an outline of what I'm going to go over is, hopefully that'll help. The first item on the welfare report is the welfare report. We had 37 people served in the month of January. County costs $3,952. County savings $6,000.30. Most of the cost savings came in the housing and basically utilizing energy assistance in case management to offset those costs. A few other things such as Beacon Center and Department of Labor, individuals able to get employment, and independent living isn't one. Independent Living Choices is a agency we've been using a lot more to help people be stabilized on that. Prescription program through Caremark, 53 people utilize that in our county, which is a cost savings a little bit over $3,000. Just an update, the next item is through the State Mental Health Task Force is House Bill 1183 that has come through. Some of the highlights on that, it'll request mental health screening results to a judge. There'll be new funding from Department of Social Services for crisis services, whether it's an expansion or creation. State's attorneys will receive mental health training. just specific to mental health. It'll be a requirement. They will add, for the courts, mental health assessments and treatments as a condition of release. And a change in competency evaluations, the requirement of it has to be done in 21 days. You guys would, like the Argus leader in the reports, and that was the link, some people in jail for 6 months, stuff like this, 21 days. We expanded, the bill is set to expand who is qualified to perform those. We're one of the few states that requires a psychiatric person only. So we're modifying that, especially with the not having the capacity. And then there'll be a list maintained of who can conduct those evaluations, and that be provided to the courts. And then one of the changes is the South Dakota County Commissioners will actually administer the funds, the competency evaluations. So instead of right now where if you make a request and you go to HSC, there's no beds. That's part of what happened is there were no beds available to waiting. The funding would go into the county commissioners, and then they would distribute whatever annually was provided for that. So they have to figure that out on that. That's probably the biggest change locally. The judge can appoint a response team, and that response team can look to creating alternatives to incarcerations, referral to treatments. And that's only page 11 of the 17-page bill I got to review before. I got this yesterday, so I was reviewing this morning. There's a few other changes too, and I'll bring those highlights to you as those come. The next item is just the Affordable Care Act, a repeal update on that. Some of the concerns that we have, well, first of all, one of the supports that we have is that in that would repeal the 40% excise tax on employer-sponsored plans, so that is a supportive. Some of the concerns is this could potentially push some counties to the cost to the county. They're looking, they're charged with the ability to reduce, I think, is the budget within $1 billion in 10 years. And so a lot of those costs can come through that we're watching. One of the proposed is restricting eligibility to produce budget savings. So what that could equate to is reduce the eligibility guidelines for someone eligible for Medicaid. So if you lower that number, we might potentially have more people, especially children, that are uninsured, which if that could increase the county's responsibility because of the way our formula is set up for underinsured people. They're talking about block grant funding, and that's kind of a set amount that can result to more uncompensated care, and we would then continually have to fight for funding for that Medicaid. And then the health care costs in that tend to rise faster than inflation, so there's some concerns about that. Just to kind of give you a background of how the the Congress utilized a procedure called the budget reconciliation. And under that procedure, Congress can use its annual budget resolution to expedite the legislative process on any matters that affect federal budget with a simple 51 majority vote. So that was affected, that went through on the Senate January 3rd and 12th, and then the House followed suit on the 13th. Now, there's things that they can't touch, but there are things that they can take a look at through the means and ways. Like I said, they want to reduce the federal deficit by at least $1 billion over 10 years. They haven't actually, one of the concerns we have is there isn't actually a plan to replace the Affordable Care Act, so we're watching that. I do know there was the Patient Freedom Act, Senator Bill Cassidy did, and Susan Collins did bring that for us, so we're kind of looking on that. There's some concern about the behavioral health, and that impact would be discussed more detailed at the NACO conference. Some of the things that we've gotten through the last few years that might be up for loss is treatment with medication. That's something that's been expanded. The Mental Health Parity Act, which requires that mental health benefits be paid the same as medical. Those are at risk, and then the Public Health Fund can be repealed or reduced or pulled, and there's some concern there on that. The Stepping Up initiative, I just wanted to update you on the Behavioral Health Development Program. We have a memorandum of understanding for data sharing, and we're finalizing the drafts and the approvals. We've had pre-approvals from both the city and state's attorney on what we have, and we are set to sign that February 20th at the city council and just update them as well as the work that we're doing. This afternoon, we are reviewing the proposals that we received, and the target date is March to implement. Just a reminder, that is the pre-diversion program on that. That's my report, I think.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple questions. For HB 1183, what stage is that in legislatively?
It was read in the House on January 2nd.
Okay, so first reading?
First reading, yeah.
Okay. And then for the funding for creation or expansion of crisis services, would that go to the community health services, or would that go to the counties, or where would that funding?
Anybody
You couldn't
that-
really tell.
Anybody that expands, but, you know, in our state, I think ideally you'd see it through the community mental health clinics,
Okay.
because they're the
Yeah.
ones that have that. But I think it's gonna have to be a collaboration effort
Okay.
between law enforcement and mental health. You have to have both on board, so
Okay.
we're in a good position for that. Actually, the mental health reflection program also will give us some numbers to even know
Yeah,
if that's feasible. So
Yep.
actually,
okay.
turns out even better for us.
Any other questions?
And you got two proposals for the deflection or the pre-diversion?
Correct.
So, okay,
Yes.
that's good.
Okay, it's all right with everyone. Let's jump down to item number 6 on the agenda, and this is action to authorize Sarah, Welfare Director, to submit an application for SIM, and there is a handout in your packet. If you look, sequential interceptive mapping workshops.
Yep.
Okay.
If you
Go ahead.
Okay, last year we applied for this. It's a sequential intercept mapping. It's the colored page.
Mhm.
um, of-
There's a whole
Yeah.
packet in the,
Last year we were really close. There were 4 counties selected. We were like tottering between 4 and 5, so we were encouraged to apply again this year. There was over 75 applications last year, so that was a pretty strong application. This helps facilitate process and communication and collaboration. It helps identify underused resources, and it'll help improve early identification of people with co-occurring disorders who come in contact with the criminal justice system, and help through that cycling through the systems. That we do have to have a commitment to the workshop activities and the pre-planning. It's a 1.5-day workshop and then the pre-planning activities. This also would strengthen, I have a request to apply for the Justice Mental Health Collaboration Program grant. This would actually highlight that because in that application, they highlight the need to develop a strong strategic plan to move efforts forward. So this would be a good thing to do, and I just request support.
I make a motion to authorize.
We have a
Welfare
motion
Director.
by Commissioner Gable to authorize Sarah to submit an application. Is there a second to that? Second by Commissioner Waterman. Is there any more discussion?
Just,
I have a couple
go ahead.
questions. Is there going to be any cost to the county?
No.
These,
You might have some long-distance phone calls if we have those calls in the pre-planning, but there's no.
so if we qualify for this, then do you need to go away for training? Is that how it works?
They bring the training here, and we have up to 40 people that participate in that training. So it brings the training to the community, and then it brings everybody together to work through the different steps. It's 0 to 5 where people cross the criminal justice system with mental health.
Yeah.
And so then we
To-
work through that. So
Just to kind of clarify what the SIM, the sequential intercept map, is basically the process that a person goes through when they go into the criminal justice system. And then the intent of this is to identify if somebody has a mental illness, how they're screened, and from soup to nuts, basically from the start to finish, how they should either be in the criminal justice system or maybe get diverted away from it. And as I understand it, this workshop brings together all those up to 40 people in the community, so we can, because it's not just the county and the jail and the welfare office, but it's the city and HSA and organizations like that we all sit down and put our heads together, but these folks are good at facilitating it. So that's kind of the idea. So it's kind of really the centerpiece of what this is all about, working out this process.
And the policy research has a long history of doing a good job, and they're noted for the type of work and that strategic. It helps you identify resources you have that maybe you could use underusing it, providing, and also what your gaps are to create that strategic plan. What's the next step or how we can do that?
Any other questions for Sarah? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go to number 7 then, right away. Action to authorize Sarah, Welfare Director, submit an application for Justice and Mental Health
That's a good
Collaboration
diagram to
Program
understand
grant, and she alluded
what
to
we're
that
talking about.
also. I would entertain a motion.
Do you guys want an explanation?
Yes,
Okay.
I would
please.
like an explanation.
Do you want to explain? Okay, the Justice Mental Health, okay, can I call it the GMHCP? Okay, that grant is specifically a result from the NACO Stepping Up Initiative, the 4 goals we have to reduce mental illness in the jail. This funding has been created for that. This is to support system change and review. It encourages early diversion for multi-system involved individuals. It maximizes diversion opportunities. In this grant, priorities will be given to increase early identification and front-end diversion, which our mental health reflection will fall under that. It does expand to rural counties, and this came out of the work that we did with the White House and the DDJ. I was on the rural committee. One of the things we said is grants that are sit out there, we don't even have a chance at. So they expanded this, and so with the rural counties, in part that you can show that you're partnering with neighboring counties or the state, and so the state task force will help facilitate that. And then it's a funding with a 20% match, and the funding varies dependent on the category. There's 3 categories. One is called the first one is collaborative county approaches. That has a maximum funding of $200,000 for 24 months. There's the strategic planning for law enforcement and mental health. That has a maximum of $75,000 for 12 months. There's the implementation expansion portion category that has a maximum of $300,000 for 24 months. At this point, we're leaning towards that we believe we fit towards category 2, but there is a webinar Thursday afternoon, and we're going to participate in that for some clarification, because some of the categories, specifications, and then the explanations leave room for interpretation, so we're going to get some more of that before we make that decision. Some of the possible funding items include developing a risk-need responsivity, intensive case management, responses or alternatives to jail, personnel costs for a police mental health coordinator position, consultant services to assist with improving data and performance, local evaluation of existing police mental health program that can be considered, such as crisis intervention team or co-responder model. There is if one of the categories that you participate, they cover travel costs because there is a mandatory site visit to a law enforcement mental health. So, like I said, we don't know for sure which category. We want to get some more further information before we determine what's the best fit for the county.
When is the deadline that this would need to be submitted by?
April 4th.
So maybe it would be best for us to have you listen to that webinar first and see which category before we approve something like this, and then we know which one, then we're going to know what our 20% match will be.
Yeah, I'd like to know if I can even move forward with it, if I'm going to put that time and effort in, and then I can come back with that too. I kind of want to know that there would be some support in that to even continue to look at it, and then I can come back to with the category on that.
So, Mr. Chairman, you said it was a 20% funded
20% match.
grant? Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times that 20% kind of ends up being 20 plus 10%. And that's where on that webinar I'm going to find out, can we use existing funds that we're using right now?
Mhm.
For example, if we're paying for personnel to the staff person for like the mental health reflection, is that included? Sometimes they allow you to include existing,
Mhm.
sometimes they do not. But.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Hey.
even though there is that maximum, that doesn't mean that's what
Yeah.
we would apply for.
Commissioner Gable, you got a question?
No, I think I think it might be good to wait till after the webinar if we could, and then does that hold you up too much? When is the webinar again?
Thursday.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then just maybe next week we'd have the same thing.
We
on
could
the,
agendaize it for
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
Tuesday?
next week.
Okay?
Yeah.
Some
All
of
right.
what might happen for us as well that we thought is if we get the category category might change depending, we'll be notified on the SIM whether we get that before this application is due. So we might have to kind of have two ready, because
Yeah.
if we don't get the SIM, that's
Yeah.
going to change our category.
Yeah.
And we'll
Okay.
things.
Okay. No, that's good stuff.
So will you be able to be here and report next week?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, is that it? Any other questions, comments?
Good. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
Do,
You
do,
address the travel one, or you want me to come back up later? I have a
The
12
travel,
reimbursement.
we'll probably approve those all together, but you can, if you want to drop down. She has her travel requests also included in there with the agenda. Is that, no, I guess I don't have that travel right in front of me.
what's the
Yeah, you should.
this thing?
It's in your packet.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was in with the, it was after the SIM stuff. Yeah, yeah.
I think we should get an explanation from her, since we, didn't do it last week, because we wanted to hear what she plans on attending or doing when she's at the conference.
All right.
So,
Okay, Sarah, the question is from Commissioner Hanton, have you been able to go through the agenda, determine what you're going to attend, and get our most bang for the buck?
Yeah, just, I did highlight for you guys on that page just some of the benefits we've received, just financially, just bare minimum bone costs from traveling to NACO that we've received in return is over $17,000, and that's just actual assistance that we've been provided. That doesn't include, what goes beyond the monetary value.
is that the one?
The support system that we have from that relationship. We've been able to, it helped it with even just this project in itself to even go forward with that. The task force, it provided contribution. It's provided contribution for rural counties to be representative. Over 70% of counties in the United States have a population less than 50,000. And we've developed pitch books, cost benefit works, and data sharing benefits, data sharing plans that not only benefits us but other rural counties. The agenda I have right in front of me is just the health programming. We're still waiting. They did get that to me specifically quickly because they're kind of behind with the new legislation coming up and all the new Affordable Care Act. So this piece is just the health programming side of it. A lot of discussion is going to be on the Affordable Care Act and how that affects us. We do really, as a county, are potentially impacted by this. It will increase. When the Affordable Care Act was placed, it did reduce the spending that we had in the county because for indigent medical care. So this could definitely impact that. I know the state from the Medicaid advisory, they do not support the repeal because there was reimbursements in the Medicaid that will be cut back too. So you can get an issue too where you don't even have enough doctors and enough that. So it's going to be a huge focus on what we're looking at, and then the secondary focus is the Stepping Up initiative, working with other entities and some of the rural counties on that. I do not have the justice agenda, so it'll be a crossover between the health plant programming side of it. Our Saturday meetings will focus a lot around the Affordable Care Act. There is Friday afternoon a discussion with County Human Service Administrators regarding the different federal and human service programs. Any of that information I ever get, because I sit on the Medicaid and work closely with DSS, we provide that to them, and oftentimes we get that information before they do, and that helps facilitate their processes. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, just.
Yes, sir.
Sarah, what's the name of the committee you?
The health steering.
Health Steering, so the NACO Health Steering Committee,
Yeah.
okay.
Commissioner Hatton, did this answer your questions? Does this help you?
The dollar amounts that you have on this page, were those actual dollars that was reimbursed to the county?
It's cost for the services we provided. So like I asked task assistants what we were given from them to have their assistance with the Stepping Up initiative. If we would have hired them, that's what it costs. It's a benefit that we receive.
So those aren't,
Costs. It's
they're
what
not
we're
actual,
costs. They're
not,
benefits.
okay.
The-
You just put a dollar figure on it.
Yeah, yeah. The-
What it
the-
would cost to pay for that.
Commissioner Gable?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just one of the things, because of Sarah and her, to some extent, her interaction with NACO on the Stepping Up initiative, so all the mental health initiatives for jails, Cottington County is probably one of maybe two, actually, I think we're the second smallest county in the whole program, and so we get a lot of attention as, an example of what we should or try to do in a rural county. And so I think that notoriety sometimes, I hope this doesn't come out wrong, might help with some of the grant applications sometimes. And so,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
It's definitely, they're supportive of what we're doing because they want to see more rural counties, and actually, they're starting to see that, but we're out in front, so we get that support that we
Yeah.
wouldn't have access to
Yeah.
otherwise, to help build the local program. So it benefits locally with that Stepping Up initiative and some of the efforts we want to do locally to help reduce the mental illness in the jail, but then also, they benefit from us being successful as well, so they want to try to support that.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Sarah? Anything else?
No.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve this
Do we,
travel request of Commissioner Gable.
well, just a question, should we wait until we do all the travel requests, or we can do this one separately?
It's entirely up to you.
Okay.
If you want to take this
I
one
make that
separately, you
motion.
can.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Gable, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Waterman. Any more discussion? Anything else before we vote? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No,
Opposed, same sign.
no.
Motion carries. All right, thank you, Sarah. All right. Next item is number 8, approval. Oh, we got to jump back up. I'm sorry. Jump back up to 4. Rick? I'll leave you sitting out here for a while. I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rick.
Day is day for our annual bid letting for supplies needed in the highway department and the weed department for the upcoming year. This is, Charlie, for your benefit, this is just a tab sheet so you can keep track of the prices if you'd like.
Thank you.
First item is concrete pipe. It looks like we have one bid.
You got a letter opener there? or
Yeah, I
something?
do. Forterra, which used to be Cretex.
What's the name of it now?
Forterra, Forterra. Their bid for the 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe is $30.16 per foot. Their 36-inch per foot is $55.36. And their 60-inch per foot is $154.29. And the next is a pre-stressed bridge deck. Forty-foot interior 23-inch depth. Price each is $4,413. For the 50-foot interior section with the 30-inch depth, $6,411. The next item on the box culverts. For the 8x8, $481 per foot. And for the 10x10, $595 per foot. And that being all the bids requested in the reinforced concrete materials, with Forterra being the only bidder, I would recommend acceptance.
I'll make a motion to accept their
Second.
bids.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion?
Where is it come, where are they out of?
The Rapid Cities are office. There used to be Cretex, South Dakota Concrete Products, and Cretex.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
The next item, corrugated metal pipe. It appears we have one bidder for corrugated metal pipe also, and that is True North Steel out of Huron, South Dakota, formerly Huron Tank and Culvert. And 18-inch, 16-gauge. On the corrugated round pipe, we have $11.73 per foot. On the 24-inch, 16-gauge, we have $15.39. Jumping to the 14-gauge and 30-inch diameter. We have a price of $23.63. On the 36-inch, 14-gauge, price of $28.22. We go to the larger corrugation. Five by one corrugation, the 60-inch, 14-gauge, $47.69. The 72-inch, 12-gauge is $79.82. The 96-inch, 12-gauge is $106. And the 108-inch 12 gauge is $119.09. In that same heavy pipe, when the arched 5x1 corrugation arch pipe, 60-inch class, is $76.64. The 72-inch class is $91.79. And the 108-inch class is $136.95.
What was the 72-inch?
72-inch was
91.79.
That was 7664. The first one?
first one is 76.64. The 72-inch is 91.79. Is that?
Yep.
Got that?
Yep, thanks.
And that being the last of the corrugated metal pipe fitters, my recommendation is to accept the bid.
Here's the recommendation.
Move to approve those bids.
Motion by Commissioner Hatton, second
I'll second it.
by Commissioner Gable. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
The next item, item number 3, is Bridge Lumber. Have one bidder again, True North Steel out of Huron. And the 3x12x20. On a part truckload from stock, $2,632 per 1,000 board foot.
Say that number one more time.
2,632.
You said it's a partial?
Yeah, a part truckload from stock. On previous years, I did 2 different categories as a full load or a partial load. This year, it's just a partial load.
Okay.
With that being the only bidder, and we don't, just for information, we use very, very little bridge lumber anymore. All of our abutments and everything is going to steel and concrete, so we don't use a lot of it anymore. I recommend acceptance of the bid from True North Steel for the bridge lumber.
You heard Rick's recommendation, motion.
Move
I'll
to
make-
approve.
A motion by Gable, second by Hatton. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Item number 4, diesel fuel. Again, we just have one bidder, being Sioux Valley Co-op of Watertown. On the dyed diesel fuel, number 2, $2.02 per gallon. In Watertown, gave delivery to the out shops, number 2 to the out shops is $2.14 per gallon. There is no quote or bid on the number 1 fuel, and we haven't been able to get a bid on that the last few years. We just have to buy at the market price. We use that to mix 50/50 during the winter months. So we have to buy off what their market price is when we need it. The next item, gasohol. And this year I will, first year that we've had bids for anything other than E10. E10 price is $2.15 per gallon. The E30 is $2.07 per gallon. And the E85, excuse me, that's the E30 is the $2.07. Is that, I'm not sure
Yep.
if that's what
You
I
said,
Yeah,
you
I
said,
just
yep,
wrote
you wrote it in the
wrong.
wrong column, but you said E30, yes.
E30.
Yep.
There's
And
no,
the
no.
E85, and I might have to go back through this. E85 is $1.72 per gallon in Watertown, and I want to go back and correct the other ones. The first two on the E10
215 is
is
what you
correct
told
in
us.
Watertown. On the E30 in Watertown,
207.
should be $1.95 per gallon, excuse me. I gave you the number for the E30 delivered to our out shops, and we don't use any.
Okay, what is it in town then? The E30?
E30 is $1.95.
Is that at the pump?
That's
Would that be
delivered-
considered at the pump or delivered to the
that's
highway?
delivered to the highway.
Okay.
The E85, in my request, I requested that at the pump.
Mm-hmm. And that's the $1.72?
Yes.
Okay.
They also have a proposal, as they did last year, instead of locking into a price, offering a price of 6 cents off per gallon, whatever's at the pump. I'll recommend, this year, looking at the prices, I'm going to recommend going with their firm bid. I think it'll come out. When we get to mid-season, I anticipate an increase in the price of the fuel more than that 6 cents. So I'm recommending that, accepting their firm bid at this time.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The next item, item 5, liquid asphalt. It looks like we have 2 bidders on that. The first one being Flint Hills Resources out of Marshall, Minnesota. MC70, they have at $669.89 per ton. And they have a price on the MC3000 of $484.89.
Nothing on the 150 through 200?
They do have a bid on the AE 150, $349.89. And there is no bid on the MC 3000R. MC 3000R has a polymer rubber in it. It's the same as a regular 3000 with an added polymer, and they didn't bid on that.
Okay, so the 484.89 is just for the MC 3000 without the
Correct,
R.
they
Yeah.
did, they split it.
Yeah.
I have it in a category, all of MC,
Yep,
which is a medium pure asphalt is what the MC stands for, and I put 70 through 3,000. They divided that one price on the MC 70 of $669.89 and the 3,000 at $484.89.
yep.
The next bidder on the liquid asphalt is Jebro out of Sioux City, Iowa. Jebro. They also split the MC70 and the 3000. Their price on the MC70 is $729. And their price on the MC3000 is $549. And the AE 150, they have a price of $418. And then they also do not have anything bid on the MC3000R. Looking at the prices, my recommendation is to go with Flint Hills Resources.
Move
You
to
heard the
approve.
recommendation, a motion?
Second.
Motion by Charlie,
I'll second it.
Waterman,
I'll
second
second.
by Gable. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign, motion carries. Pea gravel.
We do go through on that MC3000, we go through about 800 ton per year. So it's a considerable,
It's a big dollar item.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
We have one bidder, it looks like, again, on the P-Rock, being Northern Con Ag. At $5.20 per ton.
Is that your recommendation?
With that being the only bidder, yes, my recommendation is
Move to approve.
Motion by Hanton, second by Waterman. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Gravel crushing.
last item, gravel crushing. We have one bidder, Brownlee Construction out of Watertown, South Dakota. The 1/2 inch per ton is $2.98. The 5/8 inch per ton is $2.58. And the 3/4 inch is $2.24 per ton. And that is just the price for crushing. That's not the material, that's just if
Yep.
we have a county pit and contract with them.
The 3/4 was,
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second that.
Motion by Hanton, second by Gable. Any more discussion? All in
Yeah,
favor,
just
say
a
ba-
curiosity, being a new commissioner, how much do we use of this a year, Rick?
Of gravel this year?
Yeah.
This year in the budget, I believe there's 40,000 tons that's put into the budget, and that's about what we do every year. In the flood years, we've done as high as 70,000 tons. But on a normal year, about 40,000 tons.
So it's a sizable item there, too.
It is a sizable item, and that 40,000 ton is a combination of all three of those, right?
Well, yeah, well, the 40,000 ton would be mostly surface gravel, which would be that 3/4 inch. Most of the time when I do the gravel bid, a lot of times I don't even use these bids. We have another bid letting, where I'll have a letting, I'll draw a circle on a map and say, we need 40,000 ton in a pile within this circle. I want to bid on price per ton for a pile of 40,000 ton. And this, I do this just to have that, like I say, in case we do have a flood situation or something where we have to go into a pit, line up a pit, find the pit or something, and do an option to purchase the material from the landowner, and then hire somebody to come in and crush it. That's the main reason for this bid we're doing.
And then this cost would be taking off the overburden and,
Right. This is just for crushing, and that wouldn't include the overburden. If
Okay.
we do the pile, that is the complete thing. If I request a bid on the pile, yeah, it's they have to have the mining permit, mining license and everything, they buy the material, they strip the ground, they reclaim the pit when it's done, we're just buying the gravel in a pile with no other obligations as far as reclamation or anything.
So
Any
there's
other
nothing,
questions?
nothing for asphalt patching material?
Didn't get.
No bids.
Done it.
Okay.
I have one other question.
Just a
from-
curiosity question. So as far as asphalt millings, how does that factor into all this? Do you use those just as kind of?
We did last year when we resurfaced the streets by the highway department. We saved that milling and we mix it with gravel and we use it for shouldering. Like last year, we used it for the shouldering on the project,
Right.
paving project on the west end of
Right.
Pelican. We shouldered that road.
So we're just keeping what's milled off for the roads that we do
And
ourselves?
The city
Yeah.
does bring us some millings
Okay.
also. If they have city streets
Right.
in our area, the area of the county shop, they'll haul them in and we screen them, mix it with gravel, and they haul some of it back out.
Yeah, okay,
It's kind of a cooperative deal.
yeah, okay.
We have a motion on the floor for the gravel crushing. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Let's take care of item number
5, well, Rick is here, so he can give you an explanation on that.
How about the chemicals?
Well, let's do 5 first, because then
All right.
Rick can leave.
Oh, okay. We'll do 5 then. Action to declare surplus our supplies to be
Yeah, I submitted a
sold.
letter to Cindy by state statute. The commission, the county is required to establish a method for disposal of surplus supplies, or supplies, and required to do it every year. The recommendation that I've submitted in the letter is used culvert, bridge lumber, bridge supplies, tires, et cetera, would sell for 50% of our inventory cost or 50% of replacement cost, whichever is higher. And the scrap metal, the daily scrap prices, whatever the bid is at our local salvage yard in Watertown. And we do watch that, but we get a bunch of motor grader blades. If the price is rock bottom low, we can hang on to them for a month and wait for a better price, and we do that quite often.
I'll make a motion to
We have a
approve.
motion by Hatton,
Second,
second by Gable. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, so this is basically a policy for how our pricing policy.
Right, yeah, and it's required by statute.
Okay,
The
okay.
County has to do it once a year.
Any more discussion? All in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
You want me to take these and make copies?
And then Lori can bring them back.
All right.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, the weed.
Yes, we
That's
have
me.
weed chemical bids.
A lot of times it's you
Steve.
and me. Okay. You should tug at me, yeah.
Morning again.
We might have low batteries, but who knows?
Sorry.
No, I was just checking the battery on for the projector.
Okay, I have
Did I miss a worksheet?
3 bids for the chemical this year. The first one I'll open will be from Hefty Seed Company out of Baltic. It's from the warehouse here in Watertown.
Oh, here.
Can I have a?
You want me to open them? Okay.
Did you get a sheet? Oh, okay. Thanks. Give Troy one for us. We can think about that.
Okay. From Hefty, the glyphosate, the aquatic glyphosate, first one on the list, 21.87 per gallon. Nothing on the Roundup or the regular glyphosate. Plateau, 141.64 per gallon. (2,4-D) amine. This would be aquatic labels. $9.49 a gallon.
Which one was that?
The aquatic, the 2,4-D amine.
Okay.
(2,4-D) ester, $18.25. Tordon, $56.91. Grazon next, $44.12. And non-ionic surfactant, $17.90. The next one I'll open will be is Helena Chemical from Clear Lake.
I'll zip that open for you.
I'll let you do this one too right away. Okay, the aquatic glyphosate, nothing. The glyphosate, $9.95. Nothing on Plateau. 2,4-D amine, $10.72. For the ester, $14.92. For the Tordon, $50. For the Grazon next, $37.50.
Nothing for surfactant?
Nothing for surfactant. Sorry. The next one is from Van Diest Supply. They are out of Iowa. They have a warehouse in Pierre. Glyphosate. Aquatic glyphosate, I have two prices here. I have a $12.97. And also a price of $14.97. Yep. The glyphosate, $9.77. Plateau, I have two prices on this. $104.89. And the other one is a generic. This one is at $99.89.
Is that the same as the aquatic glyphosate?
What's that?
Glyphosate.
Why are there two?
There's a Plateau, there's a generic, and also the regular Plateau Basagran.
Okay,
That's why.
okay.
There is several different.
Is the generic the cheaper?
Generic is usually the cheaper, but up here on the On the aquatic and stuff like that, there are several different manufacturers. He had just listed,
Okay.
got prices for 2.
Those are both brand name or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're Dextrol, and then the other one is New Farm Aquatic.
Okay.
All right, 2,4-D amine, $9.69. 2,4-D ester is $12.49. The Tordon, $45.97. Grazon, next is $44.59. And the non-ionic surfactant, $10.39. And I would request for me to look to see if everything does meet the qualifications, especially with the aquatic labeling. And come back next week.
How about any discount for bulk?
There's really the bulk deal out there, so I would have to have a unit outside
Yeah, all right.
for a truck to pull up for in case something spills.
So these are
These
for
are for the container units.
container units, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I don't think we need a motion to,
We should have a motion to delay
All right.
the award for 1 week.
you heard that.
Make that motion.
Motion by
Second
Gable,
that.
second by Waterman. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. Can we accept the bids, by the different chemicals, or do you have to, or is, can we do the?
We can if you prefer, otherwise we can just do it all next week, so that.
No, I meant,
But I
meant
mean,
when
you can
go-
pick and
you say
choose.
Yeah,
one,
I pick,
say,
and- yeah, pick and
okay,
choose which
by
ones,
chem- yeah,
I don't, I just don't get one, I just
Yeah.
pick and choose who.
Surfactant is
yeah, very different.
just about $7 a gallon difference.
Right,
Yeah.
yep. And what I do is I pick and choose which one is the lowest bid,
Right.
and if it meets all
So
the
it's
qualifications.
by chemical acceptance, okay.
Yep, by
Yep.
And
chemical
that would be
acceptance.
very
Yeah.
cheap on that surfactant.
Right.
That would be comparing apples to apples.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because some of them are, some could be an 89, or 90-10, or an 85, something on the surfactant. It just depends on what the
Right.
percentage level is.
Also, delivery availability is not,
That's not an issue, no.
Yep.
Pretty well everybody has delivered that needs to deliver, so.
okay.
What would be the lead time, you think?
Usually, a lot of times when I call and stuff like that, if they get the bid, like for an instance, if Hefty gets the bid on 2,4-D, I let them know about how much I might need for the spring. They bring it in to their warehouse, and then when I need it, I call them, and usually that day or the following day here, usually I gotta give them about a 2 or 3 day notice. And so it helps.
Not significant.
No, it's not significant. Unless the supply is low, then it might make a difference, but I have in the past turned around and had like the 2,4-D, except one with recommendations of the other in case supply cannot be handled in time.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
We have a motion and a second. We need to vote on that
Okay, yeah, we have
delay.
a motion, a second. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
I'll have these girls give you a copy.
thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
All right, next item, number 8, approve the January salary claims. And Cindy, you want to,
Total salary claims for the month of January are $522,436.29. That does include a payout to the South Dakota Retirement System special pay plan for an employee who retired at the end of January. We pay out his accumulated sick and vacation pay directly to the special pay plan, which saves the county matching Social Security payment, and then the employee has the opportunity to draw that money out from South Dakota Retirement or leave it there. So it's a money-saving thing on both our parts.
Move to approve the claims.
Motion by Hatton, second by
Second?
Gable. Any more discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have a quick claim deed to approve, item number 9.
This is a piece of property that the county took for tax deed last August. It is located in the southeast part of Watertown. It is located in a flood zone. And according to law, the county can deed this property over to any other taxing entity who we so choose. So we did issue a quitclaim deed to the city of Watertown for $5,649.78. I believe that was the amount of the back taxes on the property and anything else that came with it. And we did issue a quitclaim deed back in August, but apparently it has been mislaid, so we just need to take action to deed this over.
A
Move to
redo.
approve.
Second?
Motion by
I made the motion.
Hatton, second by Gable. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on to number 10, Mr. Ford, Milo. What's a new furnace?
Good morning.
Good morning, Milo.
Milo,
Okay, this is in response to our furnaces in the county office portion of the extension complex. What we're looking at there in the last 2 years, I've put over $2,500 in repair in these particular furnaces. They are considered at their expected age or, years of
Lifespan,
usage.
yeah.
Currently, they're running kind of under a Band-Aid situation. It's keeping the building warm, but it's, you might say it's kind of baling twine and duct tape at this point. That's gonna be another $1,000 plus in parts alone to get these back up in operation where they should be. So I did get a couple prices on doing a replacement out there.
you want to see it?
A couple different proposals on ways to go, putting in a 95% efficient furnace or an 80% efficient furnace.
Looks like about a $1,400 difference.
Yeah, about a $1,400 difference there. And in addition to that, now the air conditioning units that go with those, we haven't had the associated problems with them, but they're the same age as the furnaces. So I think there may be good reason to discuss, replacing the air conditioner at the same time.
What is the life expectancy, did they say of these?
I
I don't see it on here.
No, I didn't put that on there. The life expectancy range is 20 to 25 years.
And those in there now are 18?
Those in there now are approaching 20. So if we, my recommendation, if we decide to replace the furnaces, I would go ahead personally and redo or replace the air conditioning at the same time. And like I said, now our total price for 95% efficient furnace and the air conditioning, the associated controls that go with the air conditioning, I have a low price of $13,730. I do have funds in the budget for a furnace replacement. However, it wasn't this furnace. But, so the money is there.
Are you saying that the next year we'll probably have to replace the
Next year, we're probably gonna have another one to do.
Where, Mr. Chairman, where's the other furnace you were, which furnace were you thinking of?
Actually, I was gonna redo the furnace that's located in the echo chamber, which is actually an overhead hanging unit that
Okay.
controls or heats the kitchen and second meeting room area.
And you
Kind of
said,
the same situation there, very similar in age, and however, that one is.
This furnace and air conditioning is the one that would take care of the office portion of the extension center in the front area. You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve that we replace that
There's a motion by
furnace.
Hatton, second.
I'll second it for discussion. I had a
Okay,
couple more questions.
second by Gable. Open it up for discussion then.
Yeah.
Mr. Gable.
Just, you said the air conditioner, though, hasn't had problems.
No.
And so, and how old is that? Same age?
Same age.
Is it that much more trouble to just wait on that one and then,
And not specifically, because, with your air conditioner, you kind of have two basic pieces. You have
Right.
your coil that's inside the furnace.
right,
That would be kind of an issue not to change that at the same time. I mean, a lot of repeat work going
okay.
on there.
Does,
As far as the units outside,
right.
that's not an issue.
Okay.
Just for clarification, Commissioner Hatton, was your motion for the replacement of the air conditioning and furnace?
Yes.
Okay,
the
all
bid
right.
of 13,730.
Is that all right with you, Commissioner Gable? You seconded?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still discussing it, though, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right.
so-
Yeah.
And that one's so Commissioner Hanton's motion, as I understand it, was for the $4,980, that's what that 1370 is.
No,
Is
that's
that the high price or the low
the high price. It's the high price
Okay,
and
so
the
the
air
95%
conditioner.
efficient, okay.
Yeah, and that was
All right.
Milo's recommendation.
Okay, all right.
That's
And-
95%.
Yes,
Yeah. So that, all these line items minus the 4980.
Correct.
Okay.
Was that your question? Commissioner?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay.
And you said on the AC, the numbers 4 and 5 on the list, those things have been giving trouble, like the condensing unit, has that been giving
That's just
part of the whole
part of-
assembly? Yeah.
Part of the thing that goes along
Okay.
with it, mainly, changes due to the higher efficiency and the change in chemical, that's used now versus in the
Right.
past.
Any other questions? Call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Milo. We also have item number 11 and 12 that I think relate to you.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me that quick.
Yeah,
On number 11, I have a request in to close the Register of Deeds office for installation of new flooring, and that would be on Friday, February 17th, and then to offer limited services on Thursday, February 16th, and Tuesday, February 21st. We've been in discussions with the staff in the Register of Deeds office, and this, and we're gonna disrupt their services horribly. And to say that they're gonna have limited services on Thursday the 16th and Tuesday the 21st is, it may be understating it a little bit also, but at least they'll be available for most services. I would still recommend that, their employees can be on duty, moving, and, there's lots of papers and books and various things that need to be moved, and computers
Right.
hooked and unhooked, and so it's not like their employees will be having a day off, it's just.
To close the office.
public.
we
I would-
authorized the replacement of the flooring at a meeting some time ago. This is just the closing of the
Right.
Yeah,
the
I would
office.
make that motion that we close the office on the 17th, and then for limited services, the 16th and
Your
21st.
motion by Hatton, second by Waterman. Any discussion?
Just a quick question,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. So on the 20th, that Monday after, is that a holiday?
That's a holiday.
So they're going to be, if they have to, they can still work on the flooring?
And that's our plan. Actually, we're gonna be in there working on Saturday
Right.
and Monday,
Okay,
you know.
all right.
Hopefully get them back, be
A lot
able
of
to
work,
get
yeah.
back in business.
That's a lot of
sometime
work,
Tuesday.
yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 12 is a request for a wedding out in our beautiful lawn out here in the front. And there is a request, a copy of it in the packet. Milo?
Okay, just a little background on that, it is what it is, it's just a request to hold a wedding ceremony on our grounds, we will provide no services. Whatever they bring in for chairs or decorations or whatever is up to them, they will not have access to the building, no need for anybody to be on duty. Our biggest responsibility would be to make sure we have the sprinkler system turned off.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had weddings in the past as well, and there's never been any issues, correct?
Yeah, this is not a new deal. This
I would
is-
make a motion to
Second.
approve
Motion
it.
by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Carry on with the wedding.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good
Milo.
luck, and thank you, Milo. Number 13, action to approve an abatement. And you have that in your packet, a copy of that request.
Nope,
No?
I do not
Nope.
send that out because of confidentiality
Yeah,
for the
that's right.
person who
Yep.
has applied. The property owner qualifies for a state assessment program where there's a reduction in their assessment. And it is confidential because of HIPAA.
Yep.
And the total of the abatement is pretty minimal, $7.24.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 14, discussion action on appointment of Housing and Redevelopment Commission. We were missing a person on that committee, right?
Correct.
And we have someone?
I talked to Danny Mogg, works in the bank over in Florence, and she said she'd be getting back to me today or tomorrow morning.
So we don't,
I'll probably have an answer.
I'll just continue that.
all right, we don't have an answer for sure. Continue it. Okay, number 15 is action to approve that LEPC roster, and that is in the packet, though. That's that
Correct.
Move to
document.
approve.
It's got some colored, and if you've had a
Move to
chance,
approve.
we have a motion by Hatton to approve,
Second.
a second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The roster is approved. Number 16, action to approve the volunteer rosters for workman's compensation insurance. And Cindy, you might just share that so Charlie, the new commissioner, understands what that's all about.
Cottington County has volunteer weather spotters, and then we have the search and rescue team, and they are all covered under our workman's comp insurance, and workman's comp requires that we approve a roster, a new roster each time somebody is changed, so that these members qualify for workman's comp coverage if they need coverage.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by
I'll second
Gable.
for discussion once again. There,
And these
Okay.
lists, these rosters are kept on file in the auditor's office.
Just-
Discussion.
I would recommend we put the new sheriff's name in here, so,
Oh, is it on which,
on the Cottington County Search and Rescue Team.
well, that's interesting because his wife is the one who gave this to me.
Maybe she doesn't want him
Very
on there.
interesting.
So. can we-
Okay, I will have her give me a new list.
Okay, is your motion okay with that
Brad
one
Howell,
change?
his name is on
No,
there.
on this one, though.
But it says
Oh, on
Toby
that.
Sheriff,
Oh, gotcha.
Toby Wishard Sheriff.
No,
On
no.
the other one.
Numbers would change to it, presumably.
Yep.
With that correction.
Yeah, probably. But,
That's when I noticed.
With corrections, all right.
huh,
Any more discussion? Thank you for spotting that, Commissioner Gable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. Seeing none, motion carries. All right, let's go on to 17. And that's an action on referendum petitions submitted to refer County Ordinance Number 65. We have a group of people that have chosen to exercise their right to submit a referral. And Cindy, would you update us on the petition?
Petitions were turned into my office on January 26th to refer ordinance number 65 to a public vote of the voters of Cottington County. There were just over 1,000 valid signatures. We had to go through and make sure everyone was registered to vote. We did have to throw out a couple of petitions for discrepancies, problems with the notary part of 2 petitions. And then throughout the petitions, there were individuals who are not registered to vote in Cottington County. Lots of people think they are registered to vote, and they just don't realize that they're not. So we did have to disallow less than 100 names. Then I think it was in between 90 and 100 names were disallowed for. Some of them forgot to put down the county of registration. There were some that forgot to date their date that they signed the petitions. They're just little irregularities that happen every time. Nothing too major, but still plenty of signatures to refer the ordinance to a public vote. So you just need to take action to accept the petitions.
Make that motion.
We have a motion by
Second
Gable.
that. Second it.
By,
I second it,
you second it?
yes.
By Brenda. Any discussion?
So this just now is just to accept the petitions, and we still have to set the election date and all those things separately. Okay.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
We're just accepting the petitions that they're legal and valid.
Correct.
Correct. Yep. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. And let's go to number 18, action to set an election date for the referendum election. And my understanding is it needs to be 60 days from today.
From the date of the petition's filing,
Okay.
which would be the 60th day would be March 27th, and that would be my recommendation, Monday, March 27th, because I am going to need that long to find polling places, to make sure I have polling places available, to find election workers, and someone will have to prepare the ballot, which will then need to be printed. The programming for the vote counter will have to be ordered. We'll need all of those days to get everything lined up, along with the publications that we have to notice. We have notice of election publication. We have notice of where our polling places are. We have notice of voter registration deadline. Anybody who wants to vote in this election has to be registered at least 15 days before the election. So anybody that's currently registered is covered, but anybody who wants to get registered in order to vote will have to do that by 15 days before the election. And then there is a statute where the county auditor, it's statute 17-18A-7-18A-20. The auditor shall have the entire referred ordinance or resolution published once a week for 2 successive weeks immediately preceding the election. So we do have to publish the entire ordinance twice in the Public Opinion and twice in the South Shore Gazette, because those are our legal newspapers. I've talked to the Gazette to see if they can publish something this large, because it's how many? 164-page document. We received a quote from the Public Opinion on the cost of that publication, and for the 2 times it has to be published, it's about $18,400. So I don't have an estimate yet from the South Shore Gazette. Frankly, they said it would be very hard for them to publish such an ordinance. And then we fall into something that if one of our legal newspapers fails to publish or refuses to publish, this board can take action to not publish in that paper for the remainder of this year and all of next year. So those are just some tag-alongs to the election.
So we're looking at about a $40,000.
Well, and I looked back to 2005, which is when we had our last special election, and the cost for that one was $12,600. So approximately that amount plus the extra cost for the publication of the ordinance.
So 18.4 times 2 is 36.8, and then you add another 10 or 12 onto that, right?
Yep.
So we're,
If the publication, it's 18.4 twice if the South Shore Gazette is able to publish. At this point, I don't know.
We're talking somewhere between the cost of the special election of $50,000 to $60,000.
Yes, yeah. And the main reason for the extra cost is the requirement to publish the entire ordinance.
okay. And that date, March 27th?
March 27th is my recommendation. I do have, the Extension Center is available for that date because it's very hard to get in there for an event unless I tell them like almost a year in advance. For my elections in my primary and generals, I've got those booked out already for 2018 because that's how fast that place
Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a
is
motion
rented.
that we set the election date for March 27th, 2017.
We have a
second that.
motion.
Second.
We have a second, motion by Commissioner Hatton, a second by Gable. Discussion. Charlie, were you going to?
Just a quick question on the day of the week. Traditionally, elections are Tuesdays.
There's no, that's general election and primary elections
Okay,
are
so that's-
required
there's
to be on
no issue with
Tuesdays,
the day
but a
of the week.
special election has no requirement
Okay.
to be held on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And to help us out,
Yeah,
to
maximizing
give us
the
the,
time preparation.
I mean, that's the 60th day, so that's the latest it could be, which I'm thinking I need that much time. You know, if we wanted to go back to a Tuesday, it would be March 21st, and I'm losing a whole week for organization.
I get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion?
No, I just want to say I got confused in the bantering back and forth when I was asking what the total cost, so I apologize.
No, you're fine. That's a high dollar item. That's a lot of money. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Item number 19, discussion action to approve a 2-week moratorium on building use permits. And at this time, I'd like to call on Luke and our state's attorney to come up and share with us why the request for the 2-week moratorium and maybe some of the repercussions of this referendum passing and how it could affect the citizens of Cottington County, the entire county, the citizens of Cottington County. So with that, who wishes to start?
I guess maybe Luke can start with just the moratorium and specifically what he's asking first, and then we'll talk about maybe the reasons why the moratorium is necessary and what 65 was trying to do. So if you...
Sure. Basically, the idea with the moratorium, and it's going to become apparent as we talk through the whole thing, but what we've got now is a case where when we adopted Ordinance 65, the attempt was to have the same rules that we've used for the last 15 years and continue operating business as we went into the next year due to a litigation, a circuit court decision that put into question, the county is also appealing, put into question Ordinance 30, the practice used to adopt that, and subsequently that affects the practice used to adopt several other ordinances as well. The way that we had been adopting, having essentially publishing for public hearing at first reading, and if someone would show up at the second reading, allowing them to speak. That was a question being brought Circuit Court, ordinances back to Ordinance 61, which was the joint jurisdiction ordinance. We have changed the publication. We've been noticing the second reading since we weren't getting anyone showing up in the first reading. So basically anything from 61 forward, we've taken care of that question, but before that, that question still remains. And so the question of why a moratorium, really what I need to do in our office is find out for at least the next couple of months while this petition process is going on, what rules we are going to have. Obviously, the 2001 rules are the ones that are referenced back as being used within that court decision. Going back to there, I need to go back and research if notices were published, how things were handled within the minutes of those meetings, and if they were handled in a similar fashion to Ordinance 30. Bring those in front of Patrick and we'll review whether or not they seem the same, and from there then we can have a working document that the county can use in issuing permits. Thankfully, we're in February. Hopefully there's not a ton of need for building permits at this time, and I want this to be as minimal of a time frame as possible. 2 weeks might be a stretch, and we may have a couple more ordinances to review at that point, but I'm going to do my best to get as many of them done as we can so that we can at least start issuing permits on the ones we know are fine at that point. I mean, right now, we know through Ordinance 30 being taken out when that goes on, and one of the reasons it's such a big deal is that we've got many uses. Ordinance 30, one of the things that it really did was focused a lot on commercial and industrial districts. It combined the commercial industrial district into one commercial district and one industrial district, which didn't exist prior to Ordinance 30. So any rezoning since Ordinance 30 would be invalid because that district didn't exist. It's out there. Thankfully, joint jurisdiction, and I know I'm going all over here, but thankfully joint jurisdiction cleaned up many of those because many of those were close to town. But an example would be the Wallace Elevator, which was rezoned. That zoning district that it was rezoned to does not exist, so it would become a non-conforming building as long as those rules are no longer in effect.
And in essence, when the judicial decision, when we read that about Ordinance 30, Luke and I sat down along with counsel that was representing us on Ordinance 30, and we said, what can we do now to provide some consistency to the zoning office so Luke knows what the rules are, and so he can continue to uphold the law and hand out building permits. And the decision we came to was we can either put a moratorium in place, and so people can't build, or we can readopt all of our ordinances as they currently existed. And so we tried to readopt it. Obviously, there's been a referendum, so now we have to go to the moratorium. And the real issue with the moratorium is one of the general things of zoning that I think people need to know is that the purpose of zoning isn't to enrich a single particular landowner in his interests or her interests. It's for the community at large. And that's really what the moratorium affects here, is because since 1997, there's been 23 permits for Class 4 and above CAFOs since 1997. Every year, we hand out 130 building permits in the county. So this really affects thousands of building permits, wherein it really only affects a small number of these concentrated animal feeding operations. There's 15 to 20 conditional uses each year that are going to be part of this moratorium now. There's 50 variances that are going to be on a moratorium now. And when you look at the 163 or 164 page ordinance, 10 pages of it deal with CAFOs. And so really 6% of the entire ordinance that we're talking about repealing deals with CAFOs. The rest of it deal with things like the Wallace Elevator, Joy Ranch, things like flood insurance, what FEMA has told us about flood insurance, the Aquifer Protection Ordinance, which ironically, if we were to repeal 65 and what 30 did, it would put 838 acres back into play that you could put a CAFO on. So repealing it has the inverse effect of what is actually intended here. And so what Luke and I just want to illustrate is I think there's been some misinformation in the paper on a couple of occasions where nobody came to the hearing on 65 and spoke against it. Nobody was here when we talked about what the purpose of 65 was, but now I think we really need to make sure the public's aware that there can be some serious consequences to 65 that don't have any impact on CAFO or aren't about CAFOs. At the hearing on 65, we had talked about Brookings, or at 64 rather, because some people were interested in the way Brookings redid their zoning ordinance, and they liked the way they did it. The first thing Brookings did is they readopted all their old zoning ordinances because they had an issue with how they were adopted procedurally. And so that's what we talked about doing. We talked with Commissioner Hanton, and she asked us, Luke and me specifically, if we readopt 65, can we go forward and have a discussion on CAFOs and what the community wants our zoning ordinance to look like? And Luke and I said that's exactly what we would do, and that's exactly what we should do. So the readoption of 65 was to cure a procedural error. And I think in talking to people who called me about the petitions on 65 and what we've read in the paper, 65 does not change a single piece of what our current law is. So if people vote to repeal 65, all those rules are still on the books, and we're just questioning the procedure in which they were passed. So I think from Luke and I's standpoint, we really just want to emphasize that the moratorium is going to affect more things than CAFOs. And the question that people need to ask is they need to contact their commissioners and ask about what does 65 do. They can contact myself, they can contact the zoning office, because it is a comprehensive zoning statute that affects much more than CAFOs. And some people who signed the referendum petition asking to refer 65 are in the floodplain. And they, in effect, signed a petition that's going to remove their mortgage-backed flood insurance. And if there's a flood, they're going to try to repeal something that directly impacts them. And I don't think they realize that. Some people who want to get rid of CAFOs are going to put 838 acres back into play for CAFOs. And I don't think they realize that. The discussion on how we change the ordinance was what Commissioner Hanton had recommended, was going forward, we have a discussion after we re-adopt it. So now we're in the moratorium phase, is what the recommendation is going to be from Luke and myself, because we really can't be issuing permits if we don't know how the judicial system is going to come out and how the election is going to come out, because there's going to be different effects based on which way those come out.
And let's be clear, the proposed moratorium would be on anything that would be built using rules that were adopted similarly to what the judge's decision was that we couldn't be doing. So basically, anything post-2001 that was adopted in a similar fashion until we would either have the results of the election and, I shouldn't say either, and the results of the appeal with regards to that process. So there will still be the ability to build this year, but it's a matter of what rules are we using, and that's what we're going to use these next couple of weeks for. And then we will be able to go on, but the concern is that those policy items that we've tried to add, those uses that we've tried to add over the last 15 years and updating procedurally to keep FEMA happy, those things may have to, some of those definitely go away, and the others I need to specifically research, but at first blush it looks like some of those items that Patrick mentioned probably will be going away.
Mr. Chairman?
Are there any questions for, yes?
So the current status of 30, just for the layman's, just so we understand, like, because is it basically suspended while it's in litigation, or how does that work?
So that's the hard part, is we filed a motion to reconsider by the judge to ask her to reconsider that 30 wasn't properly adopted, because I believe there's an argument that you could say all of these were properly adopted, but until we have a court saying that's true, it's really just us saying that. So right now we're waiting to hear the judge's opinion on that reconsideration.
Right.
If the judge says it wasn't properly adopted, then we will file an appeal on that to the Supreme Court. But again, that's going to take some time. So right now we're operating under the laws that's what Luke's trying to get at, is kind of put all the ordinances in a row and figure out which ones nobody has said aren't valid, and issue permits based on those, which becomes kind of a real checkerboard thing for Luke to try and do and to make sure that he's following the law.
Okay, so just not to put words in your guys' mouth, so you're kind of treating it like it's suspended to be on the safe side, is kind of what, even though it's not really.
I think that would be
Technical.
accurate. I mean,
Okay.
the judge doesn't have the power to rule it as invalid.
Right,
There's case
okay.
law that says that, but, we're going to respect her opinion and not just
Yeah.
continue to issue permits and do things that
Right.
we know might not hold up.
Then where, as far as the aquifer protection provisions and the floodplain designation, was that contained in 30, if I recall?
I'll clarify that. The aquifer protection in ordinance 30, aquifer protection zone added another map.
Okay.
Prior to ordinance 30, it was used based on some maps that were drawn by DNR in the late 90s. In ordinance 30, we added to that with what's called the first occurrence map through USGS had prepared that.
Okay.
That first occurrence map, what it added was areas where there are known aquifer materials between sand and gravel within 50 feet of the surface.
So
So
basically,
it added that.
more
I
accurate.
was actually surprised it wasn't more land, to be perfectly honest, that had added to it. The 800 acres surprised me that it was that little.
Okay.
But yes, it did add some. The floodplain ordinance, that one was adopted separately, updated in 2008, just ahead of the deadline that FEMA had for us at that time. So that was a separate ordinance, so again, that's where I've got to go through and verify and line everything up to make sure. Preliminarily, though, it looks like the same process was used.
Luke, if some of those ordinances that you're fined were not properly adopted, then what happens to those? Can we re-adopt those, or are they just being left, that we can't do anything until everything is settled?
Well, from the standpoint of, and Patrick, I'm going to ask your help a little bit on this too, but from the standpoint of the short term, at least until the election, that I'm betting you would agree, Patrick, it'd be improper to make a change based, with something that's out there to be voted on.
Yeah, there's a specific statute that says the board can't take any action that would be counter to what essentially the referendum election is about. So we couldn't go through and adopt 18 individually or 48 or whatever one you wanted to while the election's pending. Afterwards, we could maybe do that in piecemeal and go through and re-adopt each one if that was what was wanted. But until the election, there's basically a moratorium on changing your zoning laws, if it's anything that's counter to what is currently being proposed.
Commissioner Waterman.
This is a very complicated issue to somebody like myself. You mentioned the Wallace elevator now is in a problem, and they could not be replaced. It's in a non-conforming use, and if I understand non-conforming use, it couldn't be rebuilt. If they had a fire this afternoon, God forbid, they would not be able to rebuild.
They would have to be rezoned to a zoning district that could take them, again, right now. Before the petition submitted, with ordinance 65 in place, it would have been fine. But with that suspended, no, their zoning district doesn't exist that we had rezoned them to. And I would have to go back through and see, but I'm not 100% sure that the use of a fertilizer plant or a fertilizer facility is actually listed in either of the industrial districts that existed before 2006.
So would there, even though now could possibly be a non-conforming use, would their insurance still be covered?
I don't know.
That's a question also.
That's an example.
I understand.
There are several, but that's it's a question that I don't know the answer to. If the insurance or whether bond or anything that they had, however they used to fund it, all that.
And all of these that are in question now, they could be followed under the same deal.
Many,
So it might have non-conforming use. I'm just trying to pick back on South Pelican. There was one that the lady had the house and was taking it out of a certain acreage. And that was a non-conforming use and wouldn't be allowed to be rebuilt.
That's a good example would be a separate ordinance that I'm reviewing for sure would also be Joy Ranch would be one that would be in the same boat as well, because the ordinance that authorized them, it appears was adopted in a similar fashion as well. So there's a couple of them that I'm trying to verify, because I don't want to say things that I don't know for sure, but what I do know is that the elevator is a good example, because that one, the zoning district that created, it was created for it.
Now, is this,
Doesn't exist.
is this something that they should be made aware of as soon as possible?
As soon as
And
we
how
know.
will they be made aware of it, or is it up to, they're in my district to call them?
What I plan on doing, and I'll come back to you, 2 weeks we had talked about the moratorium, correct? The plan is that I'm going to go through and I'm going to be able to have all the documentation in a line, so that if someone asks, well, are you sure, I can have it all together, then I'll have the book. That'll also be the time in which I'm expecting you will instruct me to notify people that I am aware of that have become non-conforming specifically through some of these ordinances. I'm not gonna be able to hit all of them.
Because the last thing I want to be is Chicken Little.
So that's kind of my point.
In part of the problem is that there's two different ways that this gets, or there's probably three. You know, if the voters uphold 65, then none of this has any effect on anything. If the voters decide that they don't want 65 on the books, then we have to wait for the judge's opinion. If the judge says that we didn't adopt 30 properly, and we appeal that, the Supreme Court says we didn't adopt it properly, then all of this comes to fruition. If the judge says that we did 30 properly and we did the other ones properly, 65 didn't matter, and we didn't have to have a $40,000, $50,000 election. It was a moot point at that. So it really depends on how these things shake out and in which order that they happen. So 65 was just the most straightforward way to ensure that we had consistency if it was passed and adopted, because then we don't have to wait for a circuit court decision and we don't have to wait for a Supreme Court decision. But now we really have to see how both of them come out to know what the results can be. If we lose on all fronts, then obviously this is what the most serious consequences are. But if the voters uphold 65, or the judge upholds 30, or the Supreme Court upholds 30, then none of this really happens, and none of this matters. But it's the unknown that Luke and I are trying to prepare for, and make sure that people are aware of what could happen. I mean, that's really what it's going down to.
Can I express those what haves and what may in another fashion that might help? I hope it doesn't hurt to entertain me with the way something I studied a lot in college as far as many things, and that's poker. I'll use the example of poker, basically using poker chips. Basically, what we've got is the white chips in here would identify anything we adopted in 2001 and before. These blue chips in here would be some of the amendments we've had between 2001 and 2006. The red ones would be the 2006 ordinance. The blue ones would be ones on top of that. What we assumed up until November of this year, we had one ordinance, and everything was fine. Judge's decision came down, essentially said you made a procedural error in adopting the red chips. So, the red chips come out, we set them on the side. Now we're appealing that, but the red chips go. With those red chips, we know a couple of blue chips go to the zoning districts, for example. So those go too. So now what we've got to do is we've got to research whether or not some of these other blue chips, let me take that back up. We've got to establish whether or not some of these blue chips were adopted the same way as those red ones. In doing that, what the county decided to do in December was, you know what? Let's just keep it the way we figured it was in November. We'll put it back. We'll put them back in the stack, and we'll operate that way again. And that was what was planned to happen. With the referral, these ones go back up. Now those chips go away, and now until the election, those ones are out of the deck. We've got to go back and check now the rest of the blue ones as well. We go through, and we're probably going to find some of those go away too if that does happen. So we'll have those. Within that then we're going to have the election. If we have the election and the voters vote to keep 65, well, they all go back in the deck and we get to play the same way we did. If they go away, they're gone, we have to play with these rules. However, we've still got this judge's decision. So, that could all go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could do the same thing. The Supreme Court could say, no, you know what, actually the process you used to adopt those was fine, you get them back. So now we've got the same ordinance we had in November. Or, as we said before, they could say, no, never mind, those don't exist, you did that improperly, and here's your ordinance. And so, in the end, there are two ways. There are two different shots at what winds up happening there. There's a vote and there's a court case. And so there's two options there as far as how that goes. Does that make sense? Was that total? I hope that wasn't totally unnecessary. But
approximately how much time estimated, nobody, you're looking at a fog bank, you can't see 3 feet, and I'm asking the question of how long before this would possibly be vented out to the Supreme Court?
You'd be looking at, I mean, at least a year from now, if not a year and a half from now. I mean, we haven't heard it. We haven't had the opinion from the circuit court judge yet, and we'd have to appeal that. So,
and again, it could be appealed by any of the parties involved.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Any more questions? A couple of questions that I have. Number one, is 2 weeks enough time? I know that we want to move this along as fast as we can. We don't want to, cry wolf here, but we need to make certain that what we do it appropriately. The other question that kind of goes along with that, how do we notify our contractors, our building supply people, all of the people that are involved and might be involved in wishing to get a building permit? And I'm sure this is a quiet time, but if we extend this, let's say 2 weeks from now, and we're well into February, I know if I want to build a new house or I want to build a new shop or put up a grain bin, I'm going to be wanting to get a building permit. And so who do we need to contact? How are we going to make those contacts? Should we even be making them yet? Those kinds of questions, and I don't know if you can answer them.
At this point, I can't. The one thing I can answer for you is that I'm going to work a lot better with a deadline of 2 weeks.
Okay.
We'll put it that way.
In other words, we'll push it.
Within 2 weeks, yeah. Within 2 weeks, I want to be able to have, be comfortable with, we're able to issue permits under whatever these rules are. If there's more research that needs to be done, there's nothing that says that we can't have a moratorium on these 6 more ordinances that I still need to research. But I want to be to a point, I really don't, if we can help it, I really don't want to hold up construction any more than it already will be with this.
But we're not saying that it couldn't happen either.
Correct. It's not a guarantee that we'll be prepared in 2 weeks, but I think that we'll have, at the very least, something for, hopefully, with the 2001 ordinance.
And if that moratorium is voted on here in a few minutes, passes, that moratorium goes on now, right?
Correct.
Well, that's what I'd like in your motion. In the motion, I'd like a start and end date specific for my minutes.
Okay, you heard that. Hey, are there any more questions?
I just have a comment. I guess it's unfortunate about the misconception of what we were trying to accomplish with 65. I guess that's the only thing I would like to say. It's just unfortunate that there was that out there.
And I share that same sentiment because I fielded phone calls from people that said that they either signed it or were told to sign it because it stopped a large chicken operation. There isn't a permit for a large chicken CAFO. There isn't an application for a large chicken CAFO. And repealing 65 doesn't eliminate that opportunity for somebody because there's still that ordinance on the book. So I hope that we're able to illustrate to people that readoption of the ordinances had much to do with different ordinances other than just the CAFO issue. And that the CAFO issue remains regardless of what happens in the election. And that's probably part of a larger policy discussion that Luke and I don't do. That's what the commissioners do and the planning and zoning board. Luke and I are trying to make sure that we have laws and that there is some way to administer the laws. We're not trying to say what the laws are supposed to be. And that's what the commissioners do, that's what the planning board does with the input from the public. But Luke and I are just trying to make sure that we have laws and we know what laws we have.
And with the adoption of 65, that was our intent, to take a look at those.
Just,
Commissioner Gable.
yeah, just on the average, how many applications do you get a week?
This time of year, less, and over the next 2 weeks, it's likely just to be 1 or 2.
Okay.
However, one example, I had an application come into my office for a fireworks stand in the agricultural district the week before I went on vacation, which was the week of the 19th, if I remember right. They dropped that application off. That was an application they were allowed to make. With this ordinance being referred, Ordinance 30 was the one that established the ability to sell fireworks in the agricultural district. So there is nothing for them to apply for at this
Right.
point. So
Okay.
the point is, I'm more concerned about what people think they can do that they can no longer do
Right.
than I am about the number, because realistically, the 2 weeks right now isn't.
Yeah.
I highly doubt anyone's going to be out there digging a foundation right now.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Chairman, now, if I understand this correctly, this vote goes on, we're supposed to put a moratorium on it for a period of 2 weeks. If things run amok for some reason, which we can't see in the future, then Luke comes back and tells us he needs another week. Is that
Yeah.
that be acceptable?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have to modify this motion or
Just be a new motion, I think, yeah. Would be-
any order,
yeah.
we bring it back under.
No.
Just extend it, yeah.
Is there any other?
Separate resolution at that time, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah, just
It'd be
a motion to
separate
extend it,
resolution.
or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are there any more questions at this time? I would echo what Brenda, Commissioner Hatton, and Commissioner Gable, and our state's attorney have said, that it's just too bad that we're at this point, and we have to, as volunteers on, and I'll say volunteers on the planning and board and the zoning board, I mean, we have to make decisions based on countywide populations. We represent the entire county, not one specific entity, and we have a cross of actual production people on that board. There are 7 on that board. There are 4 of them that are actual active producers, and we weigh these decisions, pretty carefully, and we act within the law and sound science. And here's a commission board too. What we do here is in the best interest of the entire county. That's what we have to keep in mind. And sometimes I get frustrated when things like this happen, but it's legal. I mean, when people exercise their rights, we have to represent and listen to them and follow through with them. So that's what we're doing. Now, I didn't get an answer on, do we need to notify any of the individuals that might be affected by this moratorium on building permits? Is there anything that we need to do as a commission? Just notifying the general public, contractors, building supply, homeowners, landowners, whatever.
Specifically, I would say as far as the moratorium, I think what we'll do for the 2 weeks that this is on will make sure that it's on the zoning office's website. if it's gonna extend for beyond 2 weeks, then we'll have to do a more concerted effort of notifying builders and property owners. The second phase of this will be notification of some of those uses that we've granted that would no longer be allowed. That's the second phase, but that's a ways down the road. It's not long down the road, but it's a ways down the road. That's kind of why I want to have this done in 2 weeks. So the answer is, unless you think we need to do more, like my plan was that we would just have the sentence on the larger font sentence on the zoning office's webpage that would, one, take down ordinance 30, which was on there as the zoning ordinance, and two, would state there's a moratorium until fill in the blank date, which is 2
Okay.
weeks is what you're on, what's your motion.
Okay. Now, the other point that I would like to make is that I think I'd like to have the rest of the commissioners' insight and thoughts on this, is that I think at this time, I think it's appropriate for our state's attorney and Luke and myself and commissioners to write a letter of explanation and publish it in the local paper so that the people understand what this is all about, and so that they get some bullet points of what is happening here. And so we don't want to excite the community. We want to maintain a good working relationship with them, but we need to be transparent, and they need to know what's going on. Would that be permissible with the commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was thinking the same thing. I know with, so the key, though, is to make sure it's a very unbiased, neutral information that just says this is what it's about.
Yep.
Just to describe it. And I think making use of the county website as well to put some of those, a shorter explanation as well as the whole ordinance. I mean, so people can be looking at that. So.
Also, maybe on the county website, maybe about the moratorium also.
So is it okay if we go ahead and do that?
Yeah, I think
In
so.
the interest of representing all the voters in the county and all the citizens, yes.
Yep.
I think I would envision something similar to an Attorney General's type explanation of what a statute, or what a.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, with something similar to initiated Measure 22, the Attorney General represented that there was concerns about constitutionality, all the things that go along with it. That would be what I would envision, would explain all the areas that it could affect, just as factual as possible.
Okay.
So at this time, I'd entertain a motion then to allow, do I need a 2-week moratorium? And let's plug some dates in from the commission.
So it'd be today.
And the
the 7th.
moratorium is on what specific? I need a specific motion.
So I would make a motion to approve a 2-week moratorium on building and use permits starting today and through the 20th.
21st, wouldn't it be?
21st would be 15 days if you include today. So, well, if it's through the 21st, that's 15 days.
At 12 p.m. or 12 a.m.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
How about-
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gable and a second by Commissioner Brenda. And any more discussion? Anything that you have that you would think we need to hear right now?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
can you clarify the dates again? Because I thought it was, if we're saying today or say
From February 7th through February 21 is what I've
Okay,
got
so
written
that's
down.
15
Is that
days.
correct?
Or you could say noon to noon. I mean, if it's a 2-week, if the thing's a 2-week moratorium.
For
So
what it's worth, I would prefer noon to noon,
Okay.
because I am scheduling.
So noon today till noon on the
Still-
21st.
I'm still scheduling the planning commission meeting for the 21st. I
Okay.
don't have a plan for any
Okay.
permits, but just in case.
Okay.
Or on the 20th, you mean, the
So
planning
noon,
commission?
21st.
noon
Oh,
today
oh,
till
yeah,
noon
because
on the
of the
21st would
okay.
be 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah.
Okay? Good enough? Clarification?
Yes.
All right. Anything else? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thank you,
Thanks for the explanation.
gentlemen. I
Thank you.
appreciate your input. All right, let's go on. Let's finish this up. Action item, or item number 20, action to approve claims for payment.
No claims today.
Oh, that's a good one. Action to approve monthly budget adjustment of health insurance premiums.
Currently, we've got 2 married couples, then you approved how to split their family health insurance. Because of the way our software is written, we can only take that out of one budget. So we have one employee whose payroll comes out of emergency management's budget, and the spouse's payroll comes out of the sheriff's budget. Because of the way our software works, we have to take that whole premium right now out of emergency management. So what I want you to authorize me to do is at the end of each month or each quarter, go in and make a manual adjusting entry to charge half of the premium to the emergency management and half to the sheriff, so that what they've got budgeted will be sufficient. And then the other one is the state's attorney's office and the sheriff's office. So what it will do is evenly split the premium costs based on which employee, which works in which office.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Commissioner Waterman. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 22 on the agenda, discussion, possible action to accept a financial advisor proposal for the Justice Facility bond issue. Commissioner Gable.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we got 3 proposals in. As far as taking action, I'd like another week. Commissioner Waterman and I are reviewing them. So we're checking references and things. But the three firms that submitted proposals were Doherty and Associates, Ellers, which is out of Minneapolis, and then Northland Securities, which is also out of Minnesota, I believe. And so we're looking at those 3 proposals. The criteria that we're looking at, for everybody's information, are essentially how well do they look like they understand our situation here in Cottington County, and then looking at their experience and expertise. So that's the reference checking part, to see what experiences other jurisdictions have had, and then the price. And so we'll lay all that out for you next week.
So your request is to act on this next week?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
We'll just continue it then?
Yep,
Yeah,
continue
just
it
put it on
until
the
next
agenda.
week.
Yeah.
Number 23, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
No budget supplements for today.
Action to approve personnel changes.
We have several of those. Stephen Lowry is a new hire in the sheriff's office, deputy sheriff, step 3, $21.84 an hour, effective date February 15th. Kim Johnson is the deputy office coordinator at the extension office. She's due her anniversary step increase to step 5, $17.14 an hour. That's effective March 1st. Becky Goins is the office coordinator at the extension building. Her anniversary step increase is to step 11. Her new pay rate will be dependent on whether or not she gets her advanced degree certificate to us. If she has that advanced degree, it's $20.48 an hour. The last one is correctional officer Erin Lenzner. She's due an anniversary step increase from step 7 to step 8, and she will go to $21.23 an hour.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton. Second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Action to approve travel requests. We've already approved the welfare director's
And I
request.
have
We
a couple more.
All right.
For the treasurer's office, the second deputy, and a clerk. Treasurer would like to send them to the new officials workshop in Pierre on March 14th through the 16th. She's got estimated costs on there. I believe I sent those out to you. And let's see, that might have been the only 2, actually, other than the welfare director.
Move to approve.
Yep, okay. Motion by
I did.
Hatton.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gable. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Do we have any old business?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes, sir.
a couple odds and ends. We had a Justice Advisory Committee meeting last week, Thursday, and just the big thing there was we started talking about some smaller options, and with a project cost in the somewhere low 20 million area, and then applying the $5 million or so that we've saved, put aside in the future building project surplus fund, so that would get the bond amount below 20 million. So we started talking about options like that. The architects weren't there that meeting, and essentially still looking at the parking lot of the auditorium block, not the auditorium building itself, for locating a new jail, and then using the old jail building for some kind of space, be it county or court space, and which would free up space inside this building, the old courthouse, to use. And so the basic idea is that we look to make sure we answer 100% of the jail needs as they're programmed by the consultants and the architect, and then as much of the court need as we can, and then going about that smartly. So, and there's a few variables in there. So one variable is exactly what would go into the old jail. So one thing we're asking the architect to take a look at is maybe we could get a courtroom in there. There are some issues with that building. There's a lot of floor space, but the ceiling height is probably the main issue. But we're having them look at that. Then the other one was where to locate the sheriff's office, leave it where it's at, or possibly co-locate it with a new jail on the auditorium block. Either way, that's a much smaller footprint than what was programmed for the sheriff's office. So that's where we realized some savings by essentially maybe not expanding their current space much at all. Maybe not at all, but very little. So that's kind of the gist of that meeting right now. And then had at the city council last night, city council working session, there was just initial discussion about transferring the ownership of the auditorium parking lot to the county. Just for everybody's information, the city had appraisals done on the auditorium block and the auditorium parking area and the auditorium building itself. They had two separate appraisals done, and the appraisal amount for the auditorium parking area was $462,000. So that's just so everybody knows that. The other things that we need to consider. So now the next step is some kind of figuring out exactly what an agreement would be. And again, I know I've said it before, but just it bears repeating that if we agree on how to agree on how to transfer that parking lot to county ownership so that we can build justice facilities on it, we would want a provisional agreement. So something that's kind of conditional upon approval by the voters, so it wouldn't be in effect until after the voters approve it. And so whether or not that appraisal amount's going to come into play somehow. I think also that we had a soil boring analysis done on that area, and the city was good enough to give us permission to take some soil samples there. And although the soil is very good overall under that parking lot, there are the basements of two buildings that were on that, and so that's what's called unclassified fill. So that might be an issue too. But next steps are, right now it's still discussion, so hopefully in the near future we'll have something solid that we can provisionally agree upon between the two, the city council and the county commission. So
Good. Okay. Any other old business? Any new business? Anything for the open?
Well, we have several things to discuss. Actually, and I maybe could have put this under new business. I attended a couple meetings, Watertown Volunteer Center. If you guys want to just put this in your calendars, their annual fundraiser, the hors d'oeuvres extravaganza, will be May 16th at 2nd Street Station at 6:30. So if you'd want to make note of that. And I also attended the soil conservation meeting yesterday, and just to inform the public that they did purchase a machine that will now lay fabric when they are planting their trees. So they now have the option of being able to use fabric. Some events that there could be a quorum of commissioners is probably all week at the farm show. There will be the Cracker Barrel Saturday morning at 9 a.m. in classroom B, I believe. I think that is probably going to cover all of our events that I have, other than the meetings. Cindy, you
Yeah, I
sent
was
an
just going to
email
bring
out.
that up. I had sent an email out that I was going to be out of the office for some time, or for a portion of a week in February. The only two I heard back from were Brenda and Troy on whether or not you want to leave your meeting date on February 21st and have one of the clerks in my office come in and do your minutes, or if you want to move the meeting to February 22nd, when I will be back in the office.
Oh, I replied, it's, the 22nd's all right, it works for me.
I didn't get a response from you.
Oh,
I did.
No,
oh,
I
I did?
I saw your response. I didn't respond, but I'm good with either day.
no.
Whatever worked for you.
Yeah, I did not get a response. I should have,
Oh, okay.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, well, thank you.
I'll get one now.
so you want to move it to the 22nd?
I think I'll move it to the 22nd. We can take action on that next Tuesday.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, do you need to know about our convention? I will be attending that in Pierre.
And I will
March
also.
16th, no, March 15th.
Was there a
and
registration
16th.
form that
Yeah.
came with that?
Yeah, we got one.
Do you
from
have it? Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
We'll need to,
It's the March 15th and 16th, Wednesday
yeah, we
and
pay
Thursday.
bills next Tuesday, so I think we'll probably want to,
You
I'll
need
probably
us to sign up?
want to know who's all going so that we can get this paid next Tuesday.
I will be attending.
And it's a 1 day and 2 days, so if you're going to be there 2 days, it's $100. 1 day is $50.
I'll be there
So,
both days.
you're going?
Yeah, I intend to go to both days.
I have the agenda printed out.
Did you
I guess
say
we
yes,
could run
Lee?
copies
Okay.
for everybody.
Mr. Chairman, I have one last minor thing.
Charlie, I didn't hear, did you plan on going? Okay. Okay, I'll leave you guys up to getting your own rooms. There's
They were on the bottom.
a block of rooms here, so,
It's under South Dakota counties, if you
Yeah.
call in.
if you do get in at the Ramcota, we have a direct billing account set up there, so I'm not sure if it's too late to get in there or not, but
I have one. Have you had any progress on ICAP, finding a location or?
They were in town a week ago Tuesday, but I have not heard back yet. They went to a few of the local churches, and I think we're going to have conversations with them to start there. So it's a work in progress yet, nothing definite.
I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what a good place for that, and I've come up with a few of them, but I don't
You
think
mean for the
they're-
ICAP building or just for the interim?
for the Head Start, or,
For the Head Start.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
the ICAP Head Start program. But you're meaning like the whole program, not just for the interim, but for ongoing.
Yeah.
seems like there's a lot of empty buildings in town,
I
but they
know.
just might not be appropriate for
Every
what you
time I
need
drive by one of
or,
them, I think
or
it-
location-wise,
I
yeah.
wonder if that would work, and then I think
Right.
about the dollar involved in it.
I know, that's the issue with a few of them, so.
Anything else for the open? Anything?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I forgot to mention that the next committee meeting of the Justice Advisory Committee is February the 21st.
February what?
The
21st.
21st, in the evening at 5:30.
5:30?
Yep,
Tuesday,
yep,
right?
yep.
Thank you for your consideration of that matter.
Yeah, okay.
I thank you, Lee, and Charlie for reviewing those proposals, too. Appreciate that.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion adjourned by
Second.
Commissioner Hatton and a second by Gable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are
Aye.
adjourned. Pretty. Well,
You're in
there's,
trouble.
you might get fired,
Okay.
Brenda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, actually, the request for 5:30 comes from Megan.
and, yeah, and I will be gone Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. State tournaments for gymnastics.